In the previous video, we started our deep dive into the animation principle of drag, follow through, and overlapping action. If you're just hearing about this principle for the first time, you might want to check out that video first. We also animated a little example animation of a ball dragging behind a cape and used a pose-to-pose animation method for that. In this video, I'm going to show you another approach. We'll be animating the elements that drag behind straight ahead, frame by frame. This is an animation method that a lot of 2D animators love, and it gives you a result that feels very smooth and flowy, and it's also a lot of fun to feel the motion gradually like this. Like with the previous animation method, we are starting with the main element already being animated. In this case, we have this ball traveling from left to right with an ease out and an ease in. If you don't know what some of these terms mean, you might want to start our 2D class from the beginning. We have a playlist for that on YouTube and on our website. So how does straight ahead animation work in the case of drag, follow through, and overlap? One thing that you should already have practiced a little bit before attempting that is to make it your second nature to ease things when that is appropriate. We have an exercise out where you can practice easing an element along a motion path that you could maybe do first if you've never done this before. So what we're doing now is we're going straight ahead, frame by frame, one frame after the other, through our animations and try to feel out how the speed of our elements picks up and how drag affects them, lifting them up, making them point into the direction where they come from or towards the element that is dragging them. And you should do this section by section. We will do the first section of our cape first. So this is the start of our animation. The first section is just pointing down. Then we go to the next frame, and here we have just the slightest bit of a tilt. It's pretty easy to feel the spacing here because we have the spacing of the ball increasing gradually. And yeah, can you feel how the drag is lifting that element up more and more, and we're getting this nice curve even more? And here we could decide how light is our cape, how much is it being lifted up. A large spacing, that means that is one of the fastest parts of that animation. And now, can you feel how the spacing is getting smaller? The ball is slowing down, but you know what? We want to keep it cartoony, so not have it be affected yet. Now we ease the pendulum swing down, meaning we did a frame that is relatively close, see that, to the first one. And now it's picking up speed, meaning that the spacing is now bigger, easing into its rightmost position. And then it's swinging back, of course, also with an ease. I'm doing all of this on twos, by the way. There we have the breakdown where the spacing should be a little larger. Let's see if we can stress that even more, make that frame before ease even more. Yeah, wonderful. Can you feel how we get a much better feeling for the motion? Because we're kind of experiencing it in slow motion, one frame after the other. And there we have our first element swinging around. Now, and here's a little bit the problem of the straight ahead animation. If we now realize like, oh, it's swinging a bit much to the left here, well, we already drew all of the in-betweens here. We would have to throw all of these frames away if we wanted to change how far it is swinging. See, if this is the extreme, I now need to go in and also change all the frames that are around it to make sure, actually this could work too, to make sure that it doesn't swing too far to the left. Yeah, and I think just taking it out a little bit is already a lot better. And now we go on to the next element, which of course in the first frame is pointing straight down. And now we feel out how it's just with a huge ease being slightly pulled up, just slightly. and then it starts to bend because it's being dragged to the right by the first element. It's kind of interesting. So all we have to focus on now is just that connection here. We can totally forget about this whole system there. We can only focus on what is directly in front of our second element to make it look nice. There we can now feel the element going slightly down already. Now it's just pointing straight back to where it came from. And now we have this beautiful dip down. And here, this is why I love the straight ahead method. We can now really feel the drag, how this element is slower. We could even, keep it a lot on this side by now and only have it swing up now. We're offsetting it even more than we did in the other method, I think. And yeah, just feel how it gradually, with an ease, swings over. Now it's at the breakdown at the fastest moment and is hitting the leftmost extreme here. And then it's coming over gradually. And see that I'm still easing it into, I think this animation is going to be 1 frame longer than the post-pose animation that we had, because I want to have one more ease frame here and have it point straight down. Yeah, and this concludes our straight ahead animation. We went in 2 passes for the 2 segments of our follow through and overlap and drag chain that we have to animate here. Of course, this was an example where we have something that is completely passive, just following the motion of the main element. It gets a bit more complex if you have something that is stiff, like the ear of a bunny that, it's not hanging down, it's poking up, but you still have that same being dragged behind effect. Or you have a tail that a character could also move on its own, and then you have to mix the drag of the body motion, but maybe the animal is also doing a flick with the tail at the same time. And that is where it's getting a little bit complex, because you have an active movement also involved, and it's not just passively following or being dragged behind. And then there's this whole topic of body mechanics where you have the hip or the chest leading a motion and the other element is following behind a little bit. But of course, it has also muscles involved and its own actions. This topic can actually be quite complex. If you're a beginner, really keep practicing this. You could try how this whole thing looks if you have something that doesn't just move in a straight line, but maybe moves in a circle, and then feel out how this cape or this tail is following behind. That would be a great follow-up exercise that you could do. We will have more tutorials looking at the same principles of drag, overlap, follow through, but in a character where also parts are moving because they are being willingly moved. But that's a thing that we save for another day for now. Don't forget, there's also the group mentoring on Patreon if you want some input and feedback on your own creative projects or on how to boost your skills and become an even better artist or animator. These are the wonderful people supporting me right now on Patreon. Thank you so very much. In any case, I hope to see you again in one of my lessons or live streams. And yeah, thanks again for watching. Have a wonderful day and keep on animating.